Les Enfants Terribles. Zero called it.
Hey, what is going on YouTube? Cinnabon here, and today I'm going to be going over the Les Enfants Terribles project in Metal Gear Solid. I'm making this video for anybody who's new to the series and wants to learn a little bit more about the lore of Metal Gear, or for any of the returning fans that just want some clarification on any of the kind of more complicated aspects of Metal Gear. Full disclosure here, I have not played Metal Gear or Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. Those are the original two games that were released on MSX during the 80s. This guide will be mentioning Metal Gear Solid 1 through 4 and the previews from 5. And also, just before we begin, I want to point out massive spoilers for the entire Metal Gear series. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Les Enfants Terribles was the name of the project that cloned Big Boss. We first hear it mentioned by Liquid at the end of Metal Gear Solid.
I watched your face when you did it. It was filled with the joy of battle.
You're wrong.
There's a killer inside you. You don't have to deny it. We were created to be that way.
Created?
Les Enfants Terribles, the terrible children. That's what the project was called. It started in the 1970s. Their plan was to artificially create the most powerful soldier possible. The person that they chose as the model was the man known then as the greatest living soldier in the world.
Big Boss.
But Father was wounded in combat and already in a coma when they brought him in. So they created us from his cells, with a combination of 20th century analog cloning and the super baby method.
Super baby method.
They fertilized an egg with one of Father's cells, and then let it divide into 8 clone babies. Then they transferred the clones to someone's uterus and later intentionally aborted 6 of the fetuses to encourage strong fetal growth. You and I were originally octuplets.
Octuplets?
Yes. The other 6 of our brothers were sacrificed to make us. We were accomplices in murder before the day we were even born. So it was you and I, 2 fertilized eggs with exactly the same DNA.
In this cutscene, we learn not only that Snake and Liquid are twins, but that they were genetically modified twins and clones of Big Boss. We also hear Liquid tell Snake that they're the only 2 survivors from the project, but we learn later in Metal Gear Solid 2 that that's not the case.
I've been waiting for you. A messenger from the Patriots. Where do I know him from?
So you're the boss around here?
No, not just around here. I'm the boss to surpass Big Boss himself. Solid Snake. No, that is not Solid Snake. What a pleasant surprise, brother.
Save it. You work of mine.
Don't say you've forgotten me, Snake.
Snake?
Right, take cover. Stop impersonating him. Brother, I'm a whole different game from Liquid.
The story of Metal Gear Solid 2 focuses more heavily on the relationship between Solidus and Raiden, so we don't really learn a lot about Solidus's backstory as it relates to Solid Snake and Liquid Snake. I'm going to try to give some perspective to the next clip that we're about to see. One of the main plot points in Metal Gear Solid 4 is Liquid Ocelot's attempt to gain access to the Patriots' AI. I'm not going to talk a lot about the Patriots and their AI network because I'm saving that for another video. But all you need to know for this next clip is that Big Boss's DNA is the password to get into the Patriots' AI. Liquid Ocelot assumed that since Snake and Liquid are both clones of Big Boss, that their DNA would work. But that wasn't the case. First, he tried to use his own DNA in the Middle East, and that failed. And after that, he had Naomi take Snake's blood and attempt to use it in South America, and that also failed.
Activate it.
We've got the go-ahead. Begin. We'll use his blood. It could get intense. Brace yourselves. Yachts, all of you.
Yes, sir.
What?
I'll be taking...
In the clip we're about to see, Naomi's going to tell Snake and Otacon why that is.
Both you and Liquid are as similar to Big Boss as you could possibly be. But you're still different.
Different?
Yes.
So that's what Liquid was talking about.
We're not copies of our father, after all.
Which is why they created Solidus.
When Naomi says that's why they created Solidus, what she's talking about is Solidus is the perfect clone of Big Boss. His DNA matches Big Boss's DNA 100%. Before going further, I want to go back to Metal Gear Solid 1 and clarify something about Solid Snake and Liquid Snake. If you remember when Liquid said,
They used me as a guinea pig to create a phenotype in which all of the dominant genes were expressed to create you. I got all of the recessive genes. You took everything from me before I was even born. But
Liquid was actually wrong by assuming this. We find out after the credits of Metal Gear Solid 1 during Ocelot's dialogue that Snake was actually the inferior one, meaning that genetically he had all of the recessive genes, and Liquid had all of the dominant genes.
Warhead data. No, sir. My cover is intact. Nobody knows who I really am. Yes, the DARPA chief knew my identity, but he's been disposed of. Yes, the inferior one was the winner after all. That's right. Until the very end, Liquid thought he was the inferior one. Yes, sir, I agree completely. It takes a well-balanced individual such as yourself to rule the world. No, sir. No one knows that you were the third one, Solidus.
This picture represents the hierarchy of the cloning. You start off with Big Boss, who at the time was considered to be the best soldier in the world. He's also the main protagonist of Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. He was cloned by the Les Enfants Terribles project in hopes of recreating the best soldier in the world. Liquid Snake had the dominant genes, Solid Snake had the recessive genes, and Solidus Snake had both. He was the perfect clone. The project was carried out in 1972 by the Patriots, who at the time consisted of Zero, Big Boss, Paramedic, Sigint, Ocelot, and Eva, with the existence of the project being kept from Big Boss. This portion of the video is going to overlap with my Patriots video. Zero regarded Big Boss as an icon. He wanted Big Boss to be the icon that the world saw when they thought of the Patriots. Since Big Boss himself was infertile and was unable to have children of his own, Big Boss didn't want to lose the icon to old age. So Zero had the idea to make clones. So to begin the project, Zero tasked Dr. Clark, otherwise known as Paramedic, with the cloning process. This created the clones of Big Boss. We find out in Metal Gear Solid 4 that Eva, aka Big Mama, gave birth to both Solid and Liquid Snake. She was their surrogate mother. It's unknown who actually gave birth to Solidus.
Project Les Enfants Terribles. Its goal was to create a clone of Big Boss, the ultimate soldier. The project was led by Dr. Clark, known at the time as Paramedic. After dozens of failures, they finally, miraculously, succeeded in producing a fertilized egg. The egg used in the successful in vitro fertilization came from Dr. Clark's assistant, a healthy Japanese woman.
Blood from the east flows within your veins.
Give birth to Big Boss. To realize this, I asked to serve as the surrogate mother, and was more than happy to carry you in my womb. I loved him. 9 months later, I gave birth to 2 Big Bosses, you and Liquid. It didn't matter that you were clones, or that they had manipulated your DNA. You were born the same way as any other normal child, from your mother's womb.
In this clip, we find out that Eva volunteered to be the surrogate mother for the project, but she only gave birth to Solid and Liquid. That still leaves Solidus. I would argue that the Japanese woman who donated her eggs in the first place for the cloning process gave birth to Solidus, because she was the only other woman involved. We learn from Naomi in Metal Gear Solid 4 that each of the clones from the Les Enfants Terribles project was intentionally given an age-accelerating gene, and that they were also made to be infertile. The reason behind this is because, if you think about it, all 3 of the clones were considered to be soldiers, copies of the best soldier in the world. They considered them weapons, and weapons can fall into the wrong hands. This was a security measure to combat that.
So, does the aging have something to do with Fox die too?
No. Your telomeres were intentionally set up to be short, regardless of the age of the original. One of the genes that inhibit reproduction and aging, the Clotho gene, was intentionally mutated as well. But more importantly, your chromosomes, like Liquid's, were provided with Terminator genes to prevent them from making copies.
Why?
Your clones created for one purpose: war. And so, in order to prevent you from being abused by clients or stolen by the enemy, they shortened your lifespan and removed your ability to reproduce. It was a safety device to ensure that the seed of Big Boss didn't end up in the hands of others. The reason you're aging so rapidly isn't because of disease or faulty research or Fox die. It's how you were born. It's your natural lifespan.
Alrighty guys, thank you for watching. I hope this helped you out, and I hope you learned a little bit more about the Metal Gear lore than when you started. If you like what you see, hit that like button, and if you want to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys on the next video.